Hi, I'm Rob from Kimpex, joined today by Elliot from Bullet Jeans. Elliot, thank you for joining us.
Rob, thank you for having me.
And we're going to talk a little bit about something that might enlighten some people, and that is the latest CE standards and how to get those ratings. Can you tell us a little bit about the standards?
Of course I can, Rob, yeah. So today, or a few years ago, we were on sort of the old standard, which a lot of people will be familiar with, which is, you know, when it was based on seconds and so on. So for example, we were talking about, you know, your Levi's that you may or may not have been using on the road, which would have done, you know, about a second to a second and a half worth of abrasion resistance. Times have sort of moved on from there, and from sort of 2019 we've introduced, or not we, but the CE standards have introduced a new standard, which is EN 17092. So there's a few different ratings to that, but to keep it nice and simple, nice and easy to understand, there's essentially 3 marks you can hit. So that's A, AA, or AAA. So A sort of being the lowest of the 3 and AAA being the highest will sort of determine what sort of safety rating you get out of your garment, whether that be a pair of jeans, whether that be your race suit, your race romper suit, or a pair of, you know, textile over trousers. Everything has to have a CE rating. So for example, well, we've got the bobber here in front of us. So this is a AA on the latest CE standard. So to achieve AA, you need to have a certain level of abrasion resistance, but also a few other categories that are now considered as well, which are very important. So in terms of abrasion resistance, you need, or the jean is marked out, or any garment is marked out via zones. So those zones are marked out depending on what is most likely to hit the ground. So obviously zone 1 would be the knees and the seat of the jeans. More, or these sort of lesser areas are referred to as zone 2, which would be here and sort of here up until here. And then everything after that sort of zone 3. So it staggers down in terms of what speed you need to reach with abrasion resistance. They do it in RPMs to make it nice and, you know, not so easy to put into a real world meaning.
Right.
But to keep it nice and simple, you know, we like to refer to it in kilometers an hour, as that's what they were doing on the pre-EN. So to get AA, you need to reach about 70 kilometers an hour in zone 1, 45 kilometers an hour in zone 2, and about 15 in zone 3, roughly. This is of course the bobber here is a single layer, which means it goes above and beyond because it has 70 kilometers an hour throughout the entire jean because the protection's in the denim itself. So that's something you need to take into consideration when you're looking at these sort of products is, you know, this does go above and beyond that.
And that's just for the denim itself. That's not saying there's denim and then there's other armor. That's just the denim itself is rated that highly.
Exactly.
Which is very impressive.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So of course, yeah, the single layer. So it's a bit of a blend really of our protective element as well as our, you know, comfort fibers and so on. But not to get too in depth with that, going back to the standard. Of course, you have single A and AAA above that, which will obviously require different speeds in each zone, respectively. You can almost look at them as, you know, what you use them for. So an A-rated jean really is good for, you know, use around the city at its most basic level. AA is a very good sort of all-rounder, and a AAA is something, you know, you're going to be using on the highway, highway sort of speeds. Of course, a AA, you know, is more than proficient with that anyways. It's just the AAA is that top of the top. So, for example, you know, you can get one-piece suits. Normally they'll be AA or AAA, but it's always something you're going to look out for, and if it is something you're interested in, it's something to keep an eye on. A great benefit of the latest standard is not the fact that it's solely abrasion resistance, because that's what the old standard was. You now have a lot of other key components are considered that weren't considered before. So for example, the seam strength of the garment. So as you can see here with the bobber, all of the garment, or all of the seams on the garment are double or triple stitched.
Yeah, I can see that on there.
So that's sort of something that was a necessary for us to ensure that the garment, you know, does as it's supposed to. But they'll test the seam strength to a certain Newton meter. They'll test the burst resistance of the garment, and they'll even go into as far as to test the zipper strength, for example.
And of course, why this would obviously be important is it's nice that it has resistance as you're sliding, as long as it's still on you. That's what that translates to. I have a question as well. So if that's the rating for the jean itself. Does the armor it comes with have its own rating?
It does. So 17092 refers solely to garments. So that's your tops and bottoms, whether it be leather, textile, denim, whatever. Armors are a completely separate kettle of fish. So these are tested to their own standard, and you'll notice everything has its own mark printed on the back of it there.
Right, as you can see, it has a, it's all labeled behind the armor itself.
So the standard for armor is 1621. See, I had to look at that there because I'm not too up to date with the armor specs. Well,
they're big codes, I mean.
They are. But yeah, 1621 is the blanket for the armor standard, and you get two levels up for armor. So you get either level 1 or level 2, which was the same as 13595, which was the previous garment standard. But these here, for example, are level 2, but for the latest garment standard, you have to have at least CE level 1 armors in the knees for A, and then AA and AAA require it in the knees and the hips of the jean. But yeah, of course, this being C level 2 means it goes above and beyond the standard again, which is also something, you know, it's nice to be aware of and nice to consider when you're looking at getting something that's.
Does the hip armor also have the same rate? Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Same ratings. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're both rating just as high, the hip and the knee.
Hips and knees are rated at the same level. Yeah.
Excellent.
And in terms of that's pretty much, you know, a nice well-rounded view of the standard, both for garments and armor, that you're going to really need to know when you're looking at, you know, investing in a set of riding jeans or a jacket, whatever it may be.
Absolutely. Safety is key, and it seems that the higher rating, simply the better, especially when it's something that still functions. Thank you very much for that explanation, Elliot. Appreciate it.
No worries at all.
And thank you for watching. If you have any more questions or anything, go to kimpex.com and check out the details there. Thanks for watching.